Some people don't believe fire is real until their house is ash, and even then they blame the match they struck on someone else's wind. They thought they could lie, cheat, betray, manipulate, emotionally drain you, and then walk away like it was just Tuesday. Did they not spit in your face with that smug grin and still expect grace? Did they not take your love and drag it through their filth, blaming you for every bruise they left behind? Did they not gaslight you so deep that you started questioning your own reality while they sat there watching you break, calling you crazy behind closed doors? This is the kind of person who wounds you and then demands silence, who plays victim after playing you, who leaves your spirit bleeding and then posts like nothing happened, like they're thriving. But that mask, it's slipping. That smile, fake. That glow-up they're faking online, just filters, borrowed clothes, and desperation. Because deep down, their life is in shambles. They know it, they feel it, and no amount of denial can hold back what the universe has already scheduled: judgment. Before we go deeper into this fire, like and subscribe to help spread this message to more chosen ones like you. Because when you interact with this video, it signals YouTube to push this message through the algorithm's noise and straight into the souls who need it. This isn't content. This is spiritual ammunition, and every click helps another divine being remember their power. Now, let's talk. They're pretending like they're doing fine, but they're not. Their life is coming undone at the seams, and they don't know how to admit it, because to admit it would mean admitting you were the blessing, and their ego can't swallow that truth, so they deny, they distract, they deflect. But denial doesn't cancel karma, it just delays it. And right now, karma is cashing in. You were good to them. You gave chances they didn't deserve. You extended grace when all they deserved was distance. And how did they repay you? With betrayal, with gaslighting, with energy so dark it left you confused, drained, questioning if you were the problem. But now, they're the ones who can't think straight, can't sleep, can't function, because everything they threw at you is crawling back to them like shadows in the night. The scary part is, they don't even know how bad it's about to get. Some of them are already mentally tormented. Others are physically falling apart, health failing, money blocked, every blessing turning sour. Some of them, they stink. Literally. You ever smell someone whose soul is rotting from the inside out? Their demons have taken over every corner of their spirit. Their body is becoming a cage. Their mind, a battlefield. And no shower, no gym membership, no therapy session can cleanse what they invited in through deception. They thought you were weak because you loved deeply, because you showed empathy, because you wanted peace, but you weren't weak. You were divine. And now that you've pulled your energy back, they're starving. They're melting. They're watching their reality collapse, and they can't stop it. They're screaming on the inside, but still trying to look cute on the outside. Still trying to act like life is fine while their mind is a haunted house. They were warned in the spiritual realm, through dreams, through signs, through your silence. They were warned, but ego is louder than wisdom. So they kept playing, kept violating, kept pretending you were just another disposable soul. But you weren't. You were the assignment, the light, the mirror, the divine test sent into their life not to destroy them, but to heal them. And they failed. And now, that same energy they mocked, they miss. That same energy they drained, they crave. But it's too late. You've been spiritually relocated. Your access is locked. Your glow is protected. And the longer they pretend they didn't fumble, the only real one they'll ever have, the worse it's going to get. Denial can't stop consequences, and pretending life isn't in shambles doesn't change the fact that it is. So watch carefully. Some of them will try to come back wearing new masks. I'm better now. I've healed. Let's just talk. But it's bait. The demon they carry hasn't changed. It's just better dressed. Their energy is still off. Their vibration is still toxic. And the moment you let them back in, you give them access to drain you again. They're falling apart. Internally, spiritually, in ways they can't explain out loud, and the Most High is not done with them yet. You're not the villain, you're the evidence, the walking, glowing, untouchable proof that when someone messes with a chosen one, they don't just lose a person, they lose everything attached to that person. Peace, growth, favor, protection, access, blessings. And the more they deny it, the harder they fall. And listen, chosen one, this was just the first crack in their mask, the real unraveling. It's about to be exposed step by step. We're going deep into the storm they thought they'd escape, how their denial is crumbling, how your absence is haunting, and how karma is dragging them by the soul. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you can feel their fake peace falling apart. And if you're being guided to support this divine transmission, hit the super thanks, because every gift helps us send this message to another chosen one who's been silently under attack. And now, let's get into it, step by step. And if you truly carry divine energy in your spirit, you won't just want to stay, you'll feel the pull in your bones. Let's begin. Number 1. They knew what they were doing, and they did it anyway. There's a difference between someone who slips and someone who stares you in the face, breaks you with intention, and calls it a moment of weakness. One is human, the other is evil with a smile. They knew from the very beginning. They knew how pure your heart was. They knew you were different. They knew that you were the safe place, the one who didn't judge, didn't manipulate, didn't play games. They watched the way you poured into them, the way you listened when no one else cared, the way you prayed for them behind their back, even when they never deserved it. And still, they chose betrayal, chose lies, chose manipulation. This wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was spiritual warfare wearing a friendly face. Let's make one thing very clear for every chosen one listening right now. This wasn't confusion. This was calculation. They didn't accidentally forget your value. They deliberately tested how far they could drag you while still being allowed to stand beside you. They gaslit you, not because they didn't know what they were doing, but because they wanted control. They fed off your empathy and twisted it into a leash. And when you bled for them, they called it drama. When you cried in private, they mocked you in public. When you needed accountability, they played dumb and said, "You're too sensitive." Sound familiar? That's because you were targeted, not at random, but on purpose. Some of you are still trying to rationalize it in your mind, still asking, how could they do this? Was it me? Did I provoke it? Was I too soft? No, you were divine, and they couldn't stand the light you brought into their darkness. You weren't too soft. You were too sacred, and they couldn't manipulate what they couldn't control. So instead of rising with you, they decided to pull you down. Knowingly, they made that choice. And the sickest part, they did it while smiling in your face, acting like they were loyal, acting like they were building with you. But behind the scenes, they were mapping out your ruin. They were studying your weaknesses, exploiting your past, weaponizing your love, and calling it just how I am. And now, the same people who watched you suffer while they feasted on your energy are the ones silently suffering, pretending they're okay, pretending their life isn't unraveling, pretending karma isn't already parked at their front door, asking for payment in full. But the universe doesn't forget. It doesn't need an apology to move. It just waits, observes, and acts. They say people show you who they are, but you know what's worse? When they show you who they are and then pretend like they didn't. When they destroy your heart and then look at you like you're the problem for bleeding. That's the psychological game they played, making you believe you were overreacting while they calculated every move, every lie, every ghost, every gaslight. But you weren't crazy. You weren't imagining it. Your spirit was picking up on what your mind hadn't yet caught. And now you see it clearly. You see that this person had a choice, and they chose to harm a soul that was sent to help them. You were a lifeline, a divine test, a spiritual mirror, and they flunked it with full knowledge of what they were doing. Look at some of the greats. Look at Tupac. Look at Malcolm. Look at Maya Angelou. Every time a divine soul walked into a space full of broken egos, they were met with betrayal. Not because they were wrong, but because their energy couldn't be controlled. And when you walk in that kind of power, people will either rise with you or try to ruin you. And this person, they chose ruin for both of you, because now everything they touched with your name on it is cursed. Yes, cursed, not by spells or rituals, but by cause and effect. They had the chance to evolve through you, to heal with you, to be better just by being close to your light. But instead, they fed on it, abused it, mocked it. And the moment you walked away, their good luck ran dry, their peace started slipping, their mind began spinning. That's not a coincidence, that's consequence. You were the blessing they prayed for, and when it showed up in a package too raw, too real, too luminous for their insecure spirit, they didn't cherish it. They tried to kill it, not physically, but energetically, spiritually, through projection, through deflection, through cruelty masked as honesty, through withdrawal masked as boundaries. But let's be honest, what they called boundaries were just new ways to avoid accountability. And now they're in denial, acting like they don't know why life is falling apart, pretending like you didn't matter. But behind closed doors, they replay everything: your voice, your laugh, your presence. And they know, deep in the back of their soul, even if they won't admit it, they know they did it. They chose wrong, and they lost something they'll never get back. So stop second-guessing yourself. Stop shrinking to make their behavior easier to explain. It wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. And you were the one person who could have changed their life, elevated it, healed it. But they wanted power more than peace, ego more than love, control more than connection. And now, they're being devoured by the energy they unleashed. Let them pretend, let them act, let them heal in public while they rot in silence. You're not here to expose them. Life will do that. You're not here to carry their guilt. Let the weight fall on their own shoulders. You're not here to fix the people who watched you fall and called it a lesson. You're here to rise and let your glow speak the truth they keep denying. Because the more you elevate, the more their decision will haunt them. They knew exactly what they were doing, and now, so do you. Number 2, they thought they'd get away with it. Some betrayals are so loud, even silence screams back in karma. They really thought they were slick, didn't they? Thought they could break you behind closed doors and then step outside smiling, like your pain had no witnesses, like the universe was asleep, like the energy they poured into the world wouldn't come back with a vengeance. These people, they thought they'd get away with it, But what they didn't realize is that the moment they crossed you, they stepped into a war they weren't built to survive. See, chosen one, you weren't just a person in their life. You were a divine assignment, a protected frequency. You were sent into their space to elevate it, to bless it, to shift it. But they looked at you like you were disposable, like you were just another body to drain, just another light to dim. And the arrogance, that's the part that's gonna cost them everything, because they didn't just wrong you, they mocked what was holy. They thought they could fumble a chosen one and still stay blessed, still sleep at night, still win in life. That was their first mistake. They assumed your silence was weakness. They thought your absence meant defeat. They really believed that you walking away was the end of the story. But walking away, that was your divine signal to the universe. That was the moment the portal opened. That was when the spiritual tables started to flip, because you left the battlefield and let heaven take over the war. Let's not get it twisted. These people knew they were hurting you. They saw the look in your eyes. They heard the pain in your voice. They felt your energy pulling back. And still, they kept pushing. Why? Because they thought they could do what they wanted and face no consequences. They believed in their own lies. They thought they were protected by popularity, by pride, by fake positivity. But no mask can hide energy. No social media post can undo divine justice. They laughed when you were down, spread rumors, threw shade, acted like the storm they caused was your fault. You might have cried in silence, but the divine heard every tear. You might have stayed silent, but the energy screamed loud enough to echo through the realms. That betrayal didn't go unnoticed. It was documented, and now the universe is serving justice in ways they can't even explain. Their plans are falling apart. Their mind is restless. Their sleep is disturbed. That opportunity they thought was locked in, gone. That peace they faked online, slipping. That new relationship they jumped into to replace you. Turning toxic fast. Because when you betray the divine, you don't just lose the person. You lose the protection that came with them. Some of them thought they'd get a glow-up from hurting you, thought taking your energy and running would somehow upgrade their life. But what they didn't realize is you were the reason they were glowing in the first place. You were the light in the room. You were the peace in their chaos. You were the silent shield keeping them afloat. And now that you're gone, everything they built on stolen energy is crumbling. This is why the reckoning has begun. This is why the karma is hitting so hard. Not because you cursed them, not because you're vengeful, but because the scales are rebalancing. They thought the divine didn't see what they did in the dark. But the divine doesn't miss. Every action, every word, every lie, every manipulation, it was all recorded, all accounted for, and now it's all being returned. They underestimated the cost, they overestimated their immunity, and most of all, they misunderstood who they were dealing with. You are not a weakling, you're not just another person. You are a force, you are chosen. And chosen ones don't need to raise their voice to trigger divine response. You just walk away and heaven gets busy. And now they're stuck watching you elevate, watching you rise, watching you become everything they tried to convince themselves you'd never be. And it's not just hurting their ego, it's cracking their illusion. Because if you were really the weak one, why can't they stop thinking about you? Why does your silence echo louder than their whole circle? Why does your name still carry weight in rooms you no longer walk in? Because you were never the one to play with, and now they know. They didn't just lose you, they lost divine favor. They lost access, they lost covering, and what's left behind? Emptiness, chaos, isolation dressed in fake confidence. They're surrounded by people but still feel haunted. They're smiling for the camera, but inside, they're unraveling. That's the part they can't fake anymore. So don't you dare second-guess the storm they're now living in. Don't you dare think you imagined it. Don't you wonder if they're doing better without you, because they're not. They're just pretending. Pretending they didn't choose wrong. Pretending they don't miss the peace you carried. Pretending they don't regret everything. But denial doesn't erase spiritual debt, and silence doesn't stop divine timing. They thought they'd get away with it, but the reckoning has begun. And now they're learning the hard way. You don't mess with a chosen one and walk away untouched. Number 3, their denial is killing them. You can lie to the world, lie to yourself, lie to everybody who asks, but you can't lie to the consequences. They don't care about your story. They answer to your actions. That's what's eating them alive. Not just what they did, but the fact that they're still pretending they didn't do it. Acting like you're the one that changed, like you were too sensitive, like you just couldn't handle their truth. But here's the truth they can't bury with fake smiles and denial. They knew exactly what they were doing when they did it. And now, they're paying. Quietly, brutally. And there's no off switch. They're walking around with a smile that doesn't reach their eyes. Posting photos like nothing's wrong. Laughing a little too loud. Talking a little too fast. Trying to convince everyone and themselves that their life isn't falling apart. But it is. Behind every "I'm doing fine" is a torment they can't shake. Sleepless nights, financial hits, anxiety they can't explain, sickness that comes and goes with no cause. That's not a coincidence. That's karma. And karma doesn't knock. It crashes through the door. Because denial never protected anybody. It delays the fallout, but it never erases it. The moment they hurt a chosen one, the spiral began. The countdown started, and no apology or block button will pause it. The universe doesn't need a confession. It witnessed it all. Every lie, every smear campaign, every moment you were gaslit and made to feel crazy while they played victim in front of others. The universe took notes, and now those notes are being turned into justice. They can tell their friends you were the problem. They can tell their new partner you were toxic. But guess what? Their spirit knows the truth. That's why they can't look in the mirror too long. That's why the new person doesn't fill the void. That's why even with everything they thought they wanted, they still feel empty. Because the lie they told themselves is starting to rot from the inside out. And you're still rising, glowing, healing. You're not perfect, but you're real. And that's why you keep getting blessed in silence. Because you didn't run to expose them. You didn't scream revenge. You stayed quiet. And the divine handled it for you. So let them pretend. Let them keep denying what they did. They think if they never speak it, it never happened. But energy doesn't need words. Energy leaves fingerprints. And right now, the fingerprints of their betrayal are showing up in every area of their life. Relationship drama, health breakdowns, mental confusion, financial instability. That's not bad luck. That's spiritual backlash. They thought you'd never walk away. They thought you'd crumble. But instead, you elevated. And their denial, what once protected their ego, is now the very weight dragging them down. Let it. Let them sink into it. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is watching someone destroy themselves trying to avoid the truth they created. Ready for the next one. Let's keep it burning. Number 4. This isn't just mental torment, it's spiritual punishment. You don't just hurt a chosen one and walk away with a clean soul, because the universe doesn't forget what the guilty refuse to confess. Let's stop sugarcoating it, what they're going through right now. It ain't just mental torment. It's not just overthinking. It's not just a little anxiety or a bad week. What they're experiencing is full-blown spiritual punishment, and it's coming straight from the top. This is divine retaliation, not coincidence. This is the bill coming due for every time they tried to break you and then smiled like they weren't the villain in the story. Their mind is heavy, their chest is tight, they can't breathe at night. Some of them are waking up in cold sweats, pacing around in the dark, checking their phone, praying they don't see your name pop up. Not because they miss you, but because they fear the energy that's following them, because they know what they did. And even if they've convinced everyone else you were too emotional or hard to love, the divine isn't fooled. The energy always tells the truth. Chosen one, you didn't just walk away from that person. You unplugged your light from their entire existence. And now that darkness they buried under charm and distraction, it's surfacing fast. They're trying to blame bad luck, blame stress, blame you. But this ain't stress. This ain't life falling apart by accident. This is justice. This is sacred law. Because when someone tries to destroy a soul that was divinely assigned to bless them, there is a spiritual consequence that no therapist, no trip, no apology can undo. You were sent to help them evolve, and they treated you like you were disposable. They mocked your vulnerability, drained your energy, violated your trust, and expected no repercussions. They laughed while you cried, ghosted you when you were confused, acted like your empathy was weakness and your pain was entertainment. And now they're the ones looking over their shoulder, trying to outrun energy that cannot be outrun. Let's be clear, you didn't curse them, life did. You didn't pray for their downfall. You just walked away and focused on healing. And that's what triggered the collapse. Because the moment your energy was removed, the protection over their life disappeared too. This is why they're spiraling. This is why they can't find peace. Because the truth is, they weren't haunted by you. They were protected by you. And now that the protection is gone, the spiritual punishment has stepped in. Let them feel it. Let them live in the silence they tried to trap you in. Because nothing haunts a guilty soul more than the sound of everything they built off your back, crashing without warning. This isn't karma on the way. It's already here. Number 5. They're haunted by your absence. They didn't just lose you. They lost the light that kept their shadows from eating them alive. They never valued your presence until your absence started screaming through their reality. Not your text, not your voice, not your softness, not your correction, not your love. It's gone. And now they're haunted, not by ghosts but by silence. The same silence they once forced on you. The same silence they thought meant you were broken. But here's the irony. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was a warning, a spiritual siren. And now it's echoing in every corner of their life. See, they didn't just hurt a good person, they messed with their lifeline. Because whether they want to admit it or not, you were the battery in their machine. You were the fire in their cold life. You were the calm in their chaos. And now, they're starving, withdrawing, cracking, because energy is real, and they used yours like it was infinite, like you'd never cut it off. But chosen one, you did. You unplugged from their dysfunction. You detached from the cycle. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. And now they're confused, spinning, asking themselves, why do I feel so off? Why does everything feel so heavy now? It's because they're carrying the weight you used to hold for them. You used to absorb their rage, their trauma, their demons, and transmute it. That was your divine gift. But they mistook that gift as their right. Now look, the apartment feels colder, The car doesn't hit the same. The fake laughs don't echo. The food has no taste. The bed feels like a coffin. Why? Because you were never just a person. They were living off your light. And now the source is gone. And the demons they kept hidden behind your energy, they're dancing freely now. And don't be fooled, chosen one. They may act like they're unbothered, posting, smiling, flexing, but inside, the collapse is very real, spiritually bankrupt, emotionally dehydrated, mentally hunted. That's what happens when you build comfort off someone else's light without ever honoring where it came from. You were the covering, the emotional shield, the silent anchor, and now without you, every little inconvenience feels like a crisis. Because they no longer have a soul standing between them and the chaos they created. Let them feel your absence, let it echo, let it swallow them whole, because the truth is, they weren't supposed to lose you. But now that they did, they'll never be whole again. Number 6. The more you glow, the more they crumble. Your glow isn't just light, it's exposure, and nothing torments a masked soul like being seen by the one they tried to destroy. They never expected you to rise, never imagined that the same person they ghosted, lied on, gossiped about and tried to destroy would turn around and become unshakable. They didn't see this coming. They thought they broke you for good. But here you are, still breathing, still building, still glowing. And the more you rise, the more they fall apart. Because every step you take forward drags the truth out of hiding. Every blessing you receive reminds them they bet against the wrong one. They're watching. Oh, they're watching. Quietly, secretly, from burner accounts, through mutual friends, maybe even sitting next to someone pretending they've moved on. But their spirit is obsessed with you, because they need to know how you're still thriving, how you're still walking with peace after they poured poison into your life. They thought your silence meant defeat, but your silence was your strategy. And now, the glow-up is divine warfare. Let's be clear, your healing is not subtle. It's loud. It's loud in the way your energy has shifted. It's loud in the peace on your face. It's loud in the way you stopped explaining yourself, stopped shrinking, stopped showing up to places that only serve to drain you. And with every move you make in alignment, you reveal who was never aligned with you to begin with. It's not that your evolution hurts them, it's that your evolution exposes them. Because if you were really the problem, why are you glowing now? Why are you in your peace? Why are you getting opportunities, love, support, clarity, direction, while they're unraveling in silence? Because you weren't the curse, you were the covering, and now that you're gone, everything they built on your back is falling apart. Their new connections are shallow, their wins feel empty, their confidence is fake, and the reason they hate your glow so much, because it reminds them of what they'll never have again, access to a pure soul, access to divine light. Let your glow keep rising, chosen one. Let your evolution roar, because every time you level up, their false reality cracks. Every time you smile without them, it's a silent alarm that their mask is slipping. They didn't just lose you, they lost their only chance at alignment. And now your glow, it's the very flame burning down the lies they built. Number 7, they blamed you because accountability feels like hell. When a coward can't handle their reflection, they try to shatter the mirror, and, chosen one, you were the mirror. They couldn't handle the guilt, so they handed you the blame. That's how people like this operate. The moment the spotlight starts burning their skin, they try to redirect the heat. They'll twist the narrative. They'll call you dramatic, sensitive, crazy. They'll tell everyone it wasn't that bad, but it was. and deep down, they know it. That's why they had to rewrite the story before the truth could speak for itself. Because if people ever saw what really happened, they'd see a manipulator, not a victim. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't expire. It doesn't vanish. It doesn't need defense. It just needs time. And now that time has come. The mask is slipping. The cracks are showing. And all the lies they told to avoid accountability, they're unraveling in public, quietly, relentlessly. Because the universe has a way of putting everything back in alignment, even when it's been twisted by ego. They blamed you because accountability feels like death to someone who's never taken responsibility for their actions. It burns, it strips them of control, it exposes how ugly their choices really were, and rather than feel that pain, they dumped it on you, made you carry it, made you question yourself, made you beg for clarity from someone who knew exactly what they were doing and pretended not to. That's the gaslighting. That's the smear campaign. That's the emotional manipulation they tried to cloak in just being honest. But now they're exposed, not by you, but by your peace, your growth, your elevation. You didn't go online and blast them. You didn't fight dirty. You healed. You evolved. You stayed in alignment. And that decision is hitting harder than any revenge ever could. Because now they sit in rooms with people they lied to about you. And those people are starting to wonder, why is the one they warned me about glowing now, at peace now, unbothered now? The math isn't mathing, and it never will. You were never the villain. You were the revealer, the mirror, the wake-up call. But instead of listening, they attacked the messenger. And now the message is being delivered anyway, by karma, by divine order, by every sleepless night they earned with their lies. So don't you dare absorb the blame they threw at you. Don't you carry shame that doesn't belong to you. The truth is walking through the room now, and when it's done, they won't be able to hide behind your name ever again. Number 8. Some of them are straight up demonic. Not every enemy wears a mask. Some wear your name in their mouth while dragging your soul through hell. Let's stop pretending they were just damaged. Let's stop giving them soft labels like misunderstood or traumatized. Some of them were straight up demonic, and your spirit knew it before your mind could explain it. You felt the shift in the air. You felt the nausea around them, the dread, the confusion, the spiritual exhaustion that no amount of rest could fix. That wasn't just bad energy. That was a soul trying to warn you that something evil had attached itself to someone you trusted. They weren't just toxic. They were targeting you. Spiritually, energetically, strategically. This was a soul that latched onto your light, not to love it, but to leech from it. And the reason you kept feeling drained, broken, and mentally foggy around them is because your nervous system and your spirit were fighting off warfare the naked eye couldn't see. It wasn't a disagreement. It was a soul attack. These are the kinds of people who don't want love. They want access. They study your emotions, learn your rhythm, mimic your values, and then they strike. Not all at once, but over time, slowly unraveling your mind, pulling your boundaries apart piece by piece, turning your softness into self-doubt until you're questioning your own reality. That's demonic. That's intentional. That's spiritual warfare in disguise. And when you tried to address it, when you tried to say, something's off, something doesn't feel right, what did they do? They blew up. They flipped it. They called you unstable. They called you paranoid. Because demons can't stand confrontation. They don't want healing. They want silence, submission, confusion. So they react with rage or manipulation anytime you try to name what's happening. Let's call it for what it is. These people didn't just hurt you, they spiritually violated you. They fed off your peace, your prayers, your protection, and acted like you owed it to them. And now that you've cut them off, they're spiraling because they never wanted to heal. They wanted to feed, and you unplugged the source. Your glow, your silence, your distance. It's burning them alive because their demons are starving without your energy. They're looking for new victims, new fuel, but nothing hits like the energy of a divine one. And now that it's gone, they're back in their darkness, alone, angry, and fully exposed to every demon they refuse to face. Let them rot in the shadows they tried to drag you into. Because what you survived wasn't just betrayal, it was spiritual warfare. Number 9. The smell of judgment is real. Judgment doesn't always speak, it stinks. You don't need proof when the decay is crawling off their skin. Chosen one, some of you weren't just picking up bad vibes. You were smelling the darkness. That's how deep it was. That's how far their soul had fallen. There was a heaviness in the air when they entered the room. A thickness, an odor. Not always physical, but always spiritual. You didn't imagine that. That wasn't just poor hygiene. That was the stench of judgment. Rotting energy, festering guilt, demonic decay leaking out through their pores. Because when someone invites chaos, betrayal, and darkness into their life and then refuses to repent or evolve, the vibration starts to break them down, spiritually first, then emotionally, then physically. That's why they look drained, why their skin looked off, why their breath, their body, their energy smelled dead. The kind of dead no soap can fix. The universe doesn't just whisper warnings to you, it broadcasts them. Through your dreams, through your body, through your senses. You weren't crazy for recoiling, you weren't dramatic for needing space. Your spirit was already picking up on what their mask tried to hide. They were rotting in guilt, rotting in delusion. Rotting from all the spiritual energy they collected through manipulation, deceit, and unchecked malice. You ever notice how the most demonic people try the hardest to look put together? The clothes are clean, the face is polished, but there's still something foul lingering around them. That's the judgment, that's the decay. Because they dressed it up, but they never cleaned it out. They're falling apart at the soul level, and the smell is just the final warning. That's the spiritual leak. That's their mask disintegrating. And the most chilling part, some of them know they're being judged. That's why they hide more, post more, try to distract the world with smoke and mirrors. But nothing hides the vibration. Nothing covers the rot. When your soul is under judgment, it comes out in every way possible. Mind, body, spirit, even scent. So don't you ever doubt what your senses told you. That wasn't perfume. That wasn't cologne. That was truth seeping out the cracks. You caught the whiff of a collapsing soul, and your intuition told you to run. And you were right to listen, because judgment doesn't need a gavel. Sometimes it just needs a nose. Number 10. You cut the cord. Now they're spiraling. You weren't just a chapter in their story. You were the protection keeping the whole book from catching fire. Chosen one, they never thought you'd actually cut that cord. They were banking on your empathy. They were gambling on your forgiveness. They thought they could keep wounding you and you'd keep handing them the bandage. But something in you snapped, quietly, powerfully. And in that silence, you did the most dangerous thing you could have done. You walked away for real. Now they're spiraling, because what you provided wasn't replaceable. It wasn't just emotional support, it was spiritual oxygen, and they can't breathe without it. They thought you were being dramatic when you said, "I'm done." They thought it was another phase, but this time wasn't like the others. You weren't bluffing, you weren't threatening, you were finished. And the moment you pulled your energy back, the moment you stopped answering the phone, stopped checking in, stopped praying for them, stopped holding space, everything started to collapse. And they can feel it, that void. It's not loneliness, it's spiritual withdrawal. That heaviness sitting on their chest, that's the weight of their own karma pressing down, now that your light isn't blocking it. That mental fog, that panic, that dread, that's the full consequence of losing a chosen one. Because you weren't just a person to them, you were their luck, their light, their reset button, the silent force that made life feel bearable. And now, without your energy running through their life like a lifeline, they're crumbling. Emotionally, financially, spiritually, in every way possible. They're out here trying to find your energy in other people, flirting, faking, performing. But no one else hits like you. No one else brings peace to their chaos. No one else makes their demons shut up the way you did. Because your energy didn't come from this world. It came from divine assignment. And now that it's been revoked, they're not just lost, they're unprotected, spiritually exposed. And the more they spiral, the more they realize you were never the one to play with. You were the lifeline, the miracle, the mercy they didn't deserve. Let them spiral, let them melt, let them learn that once a chosen one cuts the cord, it never gets reconnected. Because when divine protection walks away, the collapse isn't temporary, it's eternal. Number 11. Watch the fake glow up. A wolf doesn't stop being a wolf just because it puts on sheep's clothing. It just gets better at playing dead. Chosen one, don't you dare fall for it. That fake glow up, that sudden shift in their energy, that rebrand they're trying to push on social media, smiling, praying, talking about healing, maybe even throwing a few spiritual quotes around. It's not real, it's bait. It's bait designed to make you question your growth, to make you doubt your decision to walk away, and to lure you back into the same trap they built with deception the first time. You're dealing with a performer, not a healer, someone who wants credit for being changed without doing the work of transformation, someone who thinks if they clean up their appearance, they can erase the spiritual blood on their hands. But real peace doesn't need an audience. Real healing doesn't come with a photo shoot. And real light doesn't try to manipulate you into lowering your guard again. What you're seeing is not growth, it's a mask. And behind that mask, the same demon time, the same rage, the same entitlement, the same delusion that made them think they could harm you and still be rewarded by the universe. Don't forget, this is the same person who watched you suffer and felt nothing. The same person who gaslit you when you cried. The same person who told everyone you were crazy while stealing your energy behind the scenes. Now they've realized their life is falling apart without you, and instead of facing that judgment, they've decided to fake their evolution, because maybe, just maybe, they can trick you into reopening that door. That's not love. That's warfare. That's spiritual infiltration. That's desperation wearing cologne. Don't confuse performance with progress. Don't confuse silence with surrender. They didn't heal, they just went quiet so the divine heat could pass. But now that it's cooking their life from the inside out, they're crawling back, smiling, acting, hoping you forgot the spiritual war they launched on your soul. But you didn't forget, and you won't forget, because healing doesn't mean being naive. Forgiveness doesn't mean foolishness. And just because they show up with flowers doesn't mean they don't still smell like sulfur behind closed doors. Let them glow up in peace, far from your energy, because what they're presenting isn't redemption. It's just the costume they hope hides the collapse. Number 12. You were the test and they failed. When the divine sends you a healer and you try to crucify them, you don't get a second chance, you get a sentence. You weren't just some random person who floated into their life. You were the test, the divine opportunity, the lifeline. You were sent with light, not to destroy them, but to redeem them, to offer them a chance to evolve, to grow, to shift the course of their broken patterns. You came with patience, with love, with softness that could have rebuilt their entire reality. And what did they do? They spit on the grace. They mocked the mirror. They mistook your kindness for weakness, and they failed. You were the lesson wrapped in mercy, the moment that could have changed their entire timeline. You weren't trying to expose them. You were trying to elevate them. But when someone's demons are louder than their conscience, they don't see you as a blessing, they see you as a threat. So instead of aligning with your energy, they tried to infect it, twist it, tear it apart. And now the test is over, and heaven has graded the paper. You passed, you evolved, you listened to the warnings, trusted your intuition, walked away with your soul intact. But they're stuck. Spiritually paralyzed, because when divine grace leaves a room, it doesn't leave empty-handed. It takes the protection with it, it takes the favor with it, and it leaves judgment in its place. They didn't just lose you, they lost the version of themselves that could have existed if they had honored you. That version is gone. That timeline is closed. The universe doesn't run reruns. It doesn't reopen closed portals, especially not when someone had a chosen one in front of them and treated them like a threat to be destroyed rather than a light to be honored. Now, every blessing they touch will turn to dust. Every lie they told will echo in rooms they were never meant to sit in. Every move they make will be watched, not by you, but by the same divine realm they tried to mock. They can fake smiles, they can perform healing, but the judgment has already started. The sentence has already been spoken. Because when you try to destroy the very person who was sent to help you, you don't just lose the connection, you lose access to grace itself. And now, chosen one, you see the full picture. You weren't the villain, they were just exposed by your light. You weren't the problem, you were the portal to their healing, and they slammed it shut. Let them pretend, let them post, let them perform. The universe is watching, and justice never misses a soul. You did your part. Now stand in your power and never look back. If this message hit your spirit, drop 777 in the comments to claim your divine protection. Like, subscribe, and share this with another chosen one, so they remember, denial won't save them from divine judgment.